Okay, welcome everybody. This week the shir is dedicated to a close friend, MIRIAM Bat Chana. She's very ill. She's in Denver. You know, it's a Jewish thing that we can be in one place and send energy to a different place. Right, everybody, if they could just to close their eyes for a second and say with their mouth or with their mind, MIRIAM Bat Chana, may she have a complete and easy healing right now. Okay, and we should only have good news soon. Okay,
Amen.
Amen. After that peculiar story last week, I told about the Ba'al Shem Tov and the hairs. I looked for a more normal story about the Ba'al Shem Tov, and nothing I found was appropriate. They're all really interesting, but there was a story. It says that when the Ba'al Shem Tov would say Torah, there were his students that would sit around him. You know, it says one of the traditions is that the Ba'al Shem Tov soul did not want to come down into the world because from Shemayim, from heaven, they wanted him to come down. We're going to discuss this actually in detail towards the end of the shir. Heaven wanted him to come down, what's called Ikvis de Mashiach, the heels of Mashiach, the very end, the most difficult time, the darkest time, because his light was needed to the world. And he didn't want to come. He knew it would be very difficult. And so from heaven, they said he was going to have, they promised him he would have 60 Giborim. He would have 60 warriors, just like Moshe Rabbeinu had 60 warriors, right? That would protect him and to push him ahead in his challenges. Okay, and so these were what's called the Chavraya Kadisha, the holy friends that were around the Ba'al Shem Tov all the time. So when he would say Torah, again, you can picture the room, right? And the main students would be leaning in, trying to hear every word that he had to say, and the other people would be towards the back. Okay, and so always when the Ba'al Shem Tov would speak, there would be a goblet, and the goblet was half filled with yain misechar. It was mead, half filled with mead, and the people around the back who would observe this half-filled goblet of mead, and they would see the red face of the Ba'al Shem Tov, they would assume that his redness and his exuberance came from drinking the mead. So his students, who knew that he didn't touch it, it was just an accessory on the table. It was part of what they put there in preparation for the Ba'al Shem Tov speaking. Why do you need it there? And the Ba'al Shem Tov answered, just like it's a commandment, a mitzvah, for the listener to hear, it's also for the person, the person who doesn't want to believe, that he shouldn't believe. Okay, meaning that for the people that wanted to think that the Ba'al Shem Tov's exuberance was not something from heaven, it was rather something based on mead or alcohol or arrogance, okay, let them think that. But the people that understood that he was a tzinor, he was a channel for divine wisdom into the world, right? They were the ones who understood what was really going on. Okay, and that's the same thing is true with us. Same thing is true with us, that as much, I'm going to say it again, everybody here is on a mission to take Torah that we learn here together, or any Torah that you learn, and to share it with other people. That's each of us is our own secret service, right? To go to places where other people can't go. Okay, and if you believe that the Torah that you learn is a conduit for heavenly revelation, and you can change the world, then you've got it. You're doing it. Okay, you're part of the Chevraya Kedisha, the holy group of the holy friendship. Okay, and if a person doesn't believe, okay, then that's sad, but the world is not as it appears. That's the main thing. Okay, so let's get started. We're again, we're dedicating it to Miriam Bas Chana, that she should have her full shlema. Okay, and now Mrs. Dominic, if you could put up the text. Hello, what happened? Text. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, we're on 103. We've learned 100 different sayings from the Ba'al Shem Tov. Okay, here it goes. Achar v'kedem sarasani. Now this is wait a second. Where's my notes? I probably lost them because I was so filled with exuberance. 1 second. They're not here.
Can I just ask, is this big enough for everybody to see? Is it large enough?
I don't know. Maybe everybody can. 1 second. Can I control it? Now it's bigger. Is that better? But just 1 second. I have to get my notes. 1 second. Okay. Acher the 139. All right. This is a verse from the 139th Psalm. It's the 5th verse. And what is the we're looking at the 139th Psalm. It's the 5th verse. And what does the verse say? It says, Achar v'kedem tzaratani, v'tashes alai kapecha. Okay, and what do the words mean? It's Achar means the back. Kedem means the front. Back and front, Sarasani, you have formed me with a back and a front. Okay, and it says, v'tashes alai kapecha, and you've placed upon me the palms of your hands. What is it talking about? Okay, so there's unbelievable. It's like this is the entire Torah is in this verse. Okay, now where are my notes? It says first. It says that the Medrash says God, each and every person, every organ, whether back or front, was formed directly with God's infinite genius. Okay, and that's the first shot, the first explanation, that you formed every part of me, right? Like an artist. The word sarasani from the word tsayer, that you like an artist envisioning something incredible and taking that vision and expressing it in a sculpture, in a painting. That's the way that's the human body. That's one explanation. The second explanation, it says, back and front you have formed me. From the word sarasani, it not only, somebody's mic is open. If your mic is open, please close it. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sarasani can also be translated as a matzor. Matzor is a siege, to surround. God is saying, you've surrounded me. I'm spiritually, you've surrounded me front and back, God, that I can only do your will, that if I try, I can see your consciousness all the time. That's what it means. Back and front, you have formed me. You have surrounded me with divine energy. That's number two. Number three, 1 second. back and front, right? That if I go away from you, right? Then kedem means even with one thought of repentance, one thought that I want to be close to you, one inkling of yearning that I want to reconnect with you, God, and I'm right away back. That's what it means. Achar vekodim. No matter how far I go away, one tiny effort, I'm right there back with you again. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, I hope. Achar vekodim. Achar is the body. This is from the Gemara. Achar is the body, and kedem is the brain, right? That the weak part of me, the back part, the part that's not essential, that's the body. The strong part, the part that connects to you, God, is the mind. Achar vekedem. Back and front, you have formed me out of a duality. Okay, and the weak body, like with a strong mind, that the mind is supposed to that the intellect is supposed to rule over the heart and over the body. That's the 4th explanation. The 5th, I hope, am I making sense? I hope so. The 5th explanation. Oh, it says they say it's almost a joke. It's Sarasani, that people are made in such a way that if we don't focus, we're gonna run. We're gonna walk backwards, and kadam, we're gonna walk forwards. We're gonna run back and forth, up and down. That's how you made me, right? Because you want me to control my urges and to focus my attention just to go forward. And the 6th one is the most beautiful. All of that was really to say this. But the Talmud says that this pasuk is going on how Adam and Eve were created. When man was first made, man and woman together, and they were connected back to back. And they couldn't look each other in the face. There was no panim el panim, no face-to-face relationship between Adam and Eve. And when God took them apart, they were able to be face-to-face. And the inner dimension of that for each of us is the idea that sometimes it's separation leads to union. Separating leads to joining. Okay, and that refers to a couple, and it refers to each person also. When we separate from our material aspect, okay, that's the ochra, that's the back part, and this is very connected with the Ba'al Shem Tov is going to teach. Then kadam tsarasani, then I can connect to my higher spiritual part. I can be actually connected to God. When I push away the material, I can connect to the spiritual. Right? That's what it means. Kedem Sarasani. Separation leads to union. Okay, so now let's look. So those are all commentaries from 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, 1,500 years ago. Now we're going to see what the Ba'al Shem Tov said 300 years ago. One second. Yeah. So the Ba'al Shem Tov says, please look in the translation and look in the Hebrew. It says, back and front, you have formed me. So what's this dichotomy in the person of back and front? So the Ba'al Shem Tov says, Kushuhu begashmis, that when a person's involved in material things, and of course, there's a lot of different levels of person being involved in material. A person could be escaping from themselves and want to drink or eat or sleep, right? Or do whatever just to lose themselves. They want to be so involved in the physical that there's no connection to the spiritual at all. They okay. That's one level. Then it could be the level of the person that's involved in the physical. Wait, just one second. I just want to say again, I'm asking, somebody has their mic open and it's wonderful, but please close it because it's disturbing a little bit. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so he says, Kishahu begashmius, It's besod ocher. The secret of ocher is when a person's involved in material things and physical things. That's the back. That's not the primary. He says v'acher kach, when a person when he returns the oile lemadrega, and he goes to a higher level. That higher level is called kedem, and that kedem means that he's involved in spiritual things, that he's learning Torah, or he's doing mitzvahs, or he's doing something good for another person, or he's doing tikkun olam, he's transforming the world, or whatever it is. That person's spiritual pursuits, when he takes his energy and takes it out of the physical and he puts it into that spiritual pursuit, that thing of revealing God in the world, then what happens? All of the levels that was called back, all of this that he lost himself in the material, in the physical, right? The kedem sarasani, and it becomes kedem. And the word, so he says, don't read the word sarasani as, oh, again, what it is, a simple translation of the word ocher v'kedem sarasani. Back and front, you have formed me. It's like we say, the four worlds are called Olam Asiyah, Olam Hayetzirah, the world of formation. But don't read it back and front, you have formed me. Read it sarur. Sarur means bunched together. That when I do spiritual things, I'm taking all of the physical things and I'm bounding them up with the spiritual things. They become like a spiritual thing also. I'm transforming the spiritual into physical. Okay, and he continues, I hope, Moshe, was that clear? What?
Yes, it was very clear.
Okay, thank you. V'zeh shekosef, and this is what it says, right? Re'ei chayim ima isha. Okay, so now this is a pasuk from Mishlei. We've learned it before together. It says, see life, re'ei chayim im isha, with woman. Okay, with woman. It doesn't even say with the woman, with a woman. It says see life with woman. Okay, so what does he say? So again, let's go back to the what we said before. What is one of the translations? What is one of the meanings of the word ocher v'kedem sarasani? That is, and again, everybody should look it up. It's the 139th Psalm, the 5th verse. Please look it up. Okay, so what's one of the main explanations, according to Kabbalah, of back and front you have formed me? That again, when man and woman, when man was created, man and woman were one thing. Every male has feminine aspects even after the separation. Every woman has male aspects even after the separation, because we were originally tied together. Okay, and in general, the female aspect of all of us is the receiving aspect, and the male aspect is the dominant giving aspect. Okay, and so he says, so what does it mean? What does the Ba'al Shem Tov say? That it means the verse is to see the world with the woman you love. Okay, with the woman you love. What does it mean to see the world with woman? It says, Dafilu ima isha. What does isha mean in the human context of everybody is a mixture of male and female aspects. In that, what is the female aspect of myself? That's when my whole being is involved in sipurim, in the narrative of life, stories, right? Who doesn't like to tell a good story? Who doesn't like to hear a good story? Okay, and when you hear a good story, when you tell a good story, you get wrapped up in the material and diburim and just talking, not just talking, but the idea of talking where there's something so creative about talking, and it can either be for a spiritual purpose, it can be totally to mesmerize, to be in the physical world, the iske gashmi and physical things. When a person is im isha, he's with that feminine aspect. The feminine aspect's the part of him that's tied, has a connection to the physical world. What does he have to do? Look at the words inside. I hope I translated it properly. Re'ei chaim. You have to see life. You have to see the spiritual context, the infiniteness in in even the physical things, when you see the spiritual context, even in the physical things, what does he say? He says, Paris, what does that mean? La'alot, to elevate all of those physical things, hadiburim sheyu b'kedusha, that should be part of holiness. Okay, so he's talking about a couple of different levels here. There are some people that get totally lost in the physical world. Okay, and so one thing the Ba'al Shem Tov was saying, Ocha v'kedem sarasani. No matter how far away you are in the achor, in the back, but you can turn around and you can pull everything into the spiritual. Just when you reinvest your energy into spiritual things, into godly things, into divine things, into selfless things, into things that are not about fulfilling my desires, into things that are transforming the world, helping another person, losing myself in spiritual ideas, all of those things. When a person does that, he elevates all of the physical, no matter how far away he was. But then there's another level. The other level is that the Ba'al Shem Tov saying there's different types of people. You don't have to lose yourself. You can, even when you're involved in the physical, you can still have that divine consciousness. You can still not lose yourself. You can still say, you know what, I'm eating because I want to have energy to serve Hashem. I'm sleeping because I want to serve Hashem. I'm playing ping pong or tennis because I want to serve Hashem. I'm running my daily jog because I want to have more strength to feel Hashem. And then when a person turns it around and uses that energy for spiritual things, wow, he shoots all the way. He's transformed, he's transplanted into a completely higher level. Okay, and each level higher and higher and higher. It depends on us. The more that we stay focused, the more that we can leave the physical and connect with the spiritual. I just, I have a whole page of what's the story here? What's the story? Okay, so 1 second. Okay, I remember that when I was again when the thing of stories or speaking or physical actions, everything has its levels. Okay, you can just speak to a person, or you can speak to a person to bring them closer, or you can speak to a person to bring them closer to you, or can speak to a person to transform their lives. Again, every single physical action doesn't have to be separated. It can also have its spiritual component. And then when a person actually gets returns to the total spiritual life, he elevates all things. So there was a story. Okay, I was very lucky that when the year, the 2 years that I was in yeshiva in New York, I was connected to a group of people that were very into tzaddikim. And even though I was learning in a Chassidic yeshiva, a Lubavitch yeshiva, but I had friends that were groupies for tzaddikim, and they would every couple of Shabbos they would go to another tzaddik. And one of those tzaddikim became a very well-known person. He was called the Ribnitzer Rebbe. I forgot his name. He had like a long Russian name, and he was famous even in Russia for doing miracles. And I don't want to say it now, but I actually saw a miracle. I was there in his base medrash. I saw once a miracle. I was they only allowed 10 people to pray with him, and so I was one of the 10. He would pray always the afternoon prayers, midnight on Friday nights, and he would pray the evening prayers between 1 and 2 a.m. and then he would pray the morning prayers like sometime towards in the late afternoon, 4 or 5, right? And then he would pray the Saturday night prayers like midnight, 1 o'clock. Okay, and so when would Havdalah be? Havdalah would be at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, no matter when Shabbos ended, he had his own clock, his own way of understanding time. And so there were 10 of us, and there was, no matter where, there would be somebody on watch if the Rebbe would need anything, or if the Rebbe needed his minyan. And as soon as the Rebbe was there, They would wake the rest of us up, and we would be there in a flash. Okay, so there was once. I don't want to tell. I saw a miracle story, but I don't want to tell it now. I'm sorry that I mentioned it, but I did see a couple of Meshunadic behaviors by him, like weird things. Like when he would make Havdalah, he had it like a kitchenette table, like a table for four. For like 6 people to sit around it, and underneath, I didn't understand. Underneath the table, the room was very small. But underneath the table, there were like 10 cases of wine. Okay, and so when the Rebbe would make Havdalah, the cup had to be full, and he would take a bottle of wine and he would pour it into the cup, and he would keep looking into the cup. He was trying to see something. There's a whole thing about seeing your reflection in the cup of Havdalah. It's supposed to be one of the tikkunim, one of the ways to bring a more spiritual power into the Havdalah. And I saw it myself. I saw it that he poured case after case of wine. The floor, there was an inch of wine on the floor, and he kept on pouring the cup until his eyes lit up and he saw what he wanted to see, and then he made Havdalah. Okay, that was one of the stories that I was there for. But there's a story about the Ba'al Shem Tov, about when he came to see the Rebbe. This is in 1990. He asked for an audience, not 1990. No, that's much later. He passed away. It was like in 1984. I'm sorry, 1984. Okay, that was just after Ascent started, and he went to see the Rebbe, and they had a private meeting for an hour, right? And then the Rebbe walked into his car, and the Rebbe said to him, "No, before you leave, tell me a Devar Torah." And that's actually a Talmudic idea. The Talmud says that you should always part from your friend with a Devar Halacha, with a word of Halacha. Okay, so the Rebbe says to the Rebbe, and it sounded from the outside, there were 100 people there watching, listening around them, 2 big tzaddikim. So there were 2 big righteous people. So there were a lot of people watching. So they heard the Rebbe say, "No, you're about to leave." He walked into his car. "Tell me a Dvar Halacha, a word of Halacha." So what did the Rebbe say? What did the Rebbe say? 1 second. He said that there's a machloket, that there's an argument. The Jewish people say, right, Hashivenu alecha v'nashuva chadei shemenu kekedem. He says the Jewish people plead to God, Hashivenu, bring us back to you, and then we'll return to you. Chadesh, renew our days like it was in days of old. Bring us back to the times when you were with us. How do we come back to you? You bring us back to you. You open up your hands. You make it easy for us to do tshuva, to repent, to return to you, and we will then return to you with all our hearts. That's what the Jewish people say. What does God say? He says, Tashuvu alive and ashuva lechem. Return to me, and I will return to you. So the Jewish people say, God, bring us back to you and we'll return to you. God says, come back to me and I'll come back to you. It's an argument, right? God wants the Jewish people to take the first step, and the Jewish people want God to take the first step. Okay, so this is what the Ribnus just said, those 2 psukim. He said there's an argument. Argument is the Jewish people say, Hashiveni olecha v'nashuva, and then God says, Shuva alive and ashuva lechem. Return to me and I'll return to you. And so the Rebbe said, no. He says, 1 second, how does it go? Rabim v'yochid halacha kerabim. That when, 1 second, that when there are many rabim, the yachid and one person, right? The halacha is like the many. When there's a lot and one, the halacha. So what's it talking about? In the Talmud, right? There were all of these halachic discussions, okay, about who's right. Okay, so if all of the rabbis were agreed and there was only one dissenting opinion, Rabim v'yachid, many against the one, the law would be like the Rabim, right? Rabim v'yachid, halacha kerabim, right? Many against the one, the law is like the many. Okay, and so in this case, it's the Jewish people are the many, in a certain sense, and God is one, in a certain sense. So it's Rabim v'yachid halacha kerabim. Okay, so it says that after he said that, the Rebbe smiled, and he smiled all the way from the car, like the street was whatever 20 yards from the front door of the Rebbe's synagogue. And people were with him there, and they saw the Rebbe all the way till he went into the building and up the stairs and to his office. He was smiling. What was he smiling about? What's the big deal? It's the most common thing in what the Rebbe said is the most common thing in the world. Okay, so the thing was that for people who understood, there was a secret conversation going on there. What was the secret conversation? That those words, Rabim v'yachid, halacha karabim, right? When there's many against the one, the law is like the many. The first letter of those four words, the resh for Rabim, the vav for v'yachid, the hey halacha, and the kuf from karabim, that spells out a certain name of God that protects a person when he travels. Okay, and so the Rebbe initiated that they should say a Dvar Torah, that the Rebbe said these words of it sounded just like he was responding to the Rebbe, and he said some kind of a very simple, almost a jokey thing. If the Jewish people and God argue, since the Jewish people are the many, and God is one, then the Jewish people win the argument. That their opinion is the stronger opinion. Well, that's silly because the Jewish people are God's servants and God is the king. How can you can't even use that analogy? But but that expression, Rabim v'yachid, halacha kerabim, again, is the first word of those things, is a certain name of God that protects a person when he's traveling. Okay, and so therefore it was a 1 second. Hello. It was the Rebbe wanted to bring out that name of God to protect his visitor in his travels without having to say it in an outright way. Okay, so that's an example of when a person, just like we said before, that when a person is involved, it says, see life with the woman that you love. Okay, that woman is our mundane activities, right? And that when my mundane activities is, again, sipurim, the stories, the narratives that I make for my life. And the second thing is the diburim and the speech that I make in my life. And the third thing is my mundane activities. Okay, but what I have to see, re'ei chaim, look at the words. I have to see life in those mundane things. I have to understand that even in those mundane things, they're filled with incredible power and potency. Okay, and so the Rebbe actually, by initiating that exchange, right, that they actually, even though they were just saying Torah ideas, but they were almost mundane, but they were so impacted with spiritual things, okay, and that's what made the Rebbe happy, right, that there was level within level within level, okay, and that's possible for all of us also. When a person, is thinking in his mind, even though I could be washing the dishes, I just 10 minutes ago before the class, I had the deal in our home is whoever eats last has to do the dishes. So I did the dishes, right? I'm doing the dishes, okay, but I had level after level of a spiritual consciousness, okay, and so that's the ochar, and that when Kedem, now that we're studying Torah together, I'm able to climb to higher levels, and the same is true for everybody. Okay, that was it. Oh, that takes way too long, guys. Any questions? And I hope you're going to take the text home, okay, and read it over in English and in Hebrew. Any questions? Either I explain it so well that I'm a miracle person, or everybody's embarrassed to speak. Let's go on. Okay, what you're laughing. I don't think I explained it so well. Maybe I talk too much. Everybody's not to say enough, Rabbi Leiter, enough. Okay, on.
Enough.
Enough. Thank you very much. Let's go on. Wait, I'm losing all my notes here. Okay, Kuf Dalid. All right, this is actually, we're so lucky. This is the name, this is this week's Parsha. The Elu Shemus B'nai Yisrael. These are the names of the Jewish people. We just finished yesterday. We said Chazak, finished Chazak, be strong, Chazak, and be strengthened. We learned we finished the book of Bereshis, which is a book filled with light, and we're entering into the book of Shmos, which begins with darkness, with slavery, with affliction for the Jewish people. Okay, and so what did we say at the end of yesterday? At the end when we finished the reading yesterday, Chazak, be strengthened. Take the light of the book of Bereshis and invest it into the book of Shmos. So how does the book of Shmos begin? It says the Elu Shmos B'nai Yisrael. These are the names of the Jewish people, and it lists all of the Jewish people. Lists the tribes of the Jacob's children who came down to Egypt, and it starts speaking about the slavery. Okay, so what's this idea of a name? Okay, we spoke about it before. Again, my name is Shaul, or I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a teacher, I'm a Chassid, I'm a New Yorker, I'm a Jew. These are all different names that I have. What are all the different names? The part of me that I share with other people. Okay, they're my external aspects of myself that I share with others. In the same way that God's names, right, are the aspects of God that God shares with us. But there's an inner aspect that's beyond all conception. Okay, so he says, but he's going to take that idea farther. Look inside, please. It says, "Kamo tfisis haguf hu begashmi," right? She'oches begufay. That just the way that if you just like to grab something physical, a human body. I want to grab a person. I grab them by their arm, or I hug them. I grab them. Tfisa means to hold them. I hold them, right, in a physical way. That I hold them I hold on to their body, to their arm, to their hug, whatever it is. Okay. So he says in the same way, so also when we want to hold on to the soul, how do we hold on to the soul? By calling a person's name. The name is what holds the soul in the body. The fact that the body and the soul, right? Each of us has a body, right? And my name is Shaul, and there's Sylvia, and there's Levi, and there's Karen, and there's Moshe, there's Reba, and Dax, and Sergio. Everybody, that name that we have, and I want to say it's in particular a Hebrew name. Okay, that Hebrew name is a connection between the body and the soul. Okay, just like you can hold a person with your hand, how do you hold a soul? By using your name. And that's what he says. He says that just like a person who's sleeping, you can wake them up when you call their name. Okay, and there's that's the word. That's what the Ba'al Shem Tov says. Okay, so there's a few things that I have to say. It says that when parents name a child, an angel actually comes down, and we know the name of the angel, and it puts the name of the child into the mouth of the parents. That when a parent names a child, that name is connected with the inner essence of the child. That is the conduit for the child to understand how they're supposed to relate to the world. Okay, my name is Shaul, and I tell you, Shaul was a problematic person. Okay, he had incredible. It says Rosh V'Shechmai, head and shoulders above everybody else. He was incredibly special. On the other hand, he had certain issues, right? He was lacking a certain amount of confidence, right? He made a lot of mistakes. In the end, the kingship was taken away from him, was given to King David. Okay, so I relate to that in a very personal way. That I see that as my challenges. The same way with everybody's Hebrew name. The Hebrew name is a window into our life. And if a person doesn't have a Hebrew name, they have we can speak about it afterwards. Anybody who would like to have a Hebrew name, who doesn't have a Hebrew name, it can be arranged. Okay, a person has to. The ceremony is usually that over a Sefer Torah, that a person comes, he gets an aliyah, and they call them by their new name, and that's how the person has their name. Okay, and with women, it's similar, that you make a mishaberach, you make a blessing for the woman over a Sefer Torah, and the woman is given a Hebrew name. Anybody who doesn't have a Hebrew name and would like one should contact me through one of the ways, through either the site, through the app, or by email or by WhatsApp. Okay, so that's one thing that it's important to know a name, because a name is a window into the connection between our body and our soul. And even if a parent didn't give a person a Hebrew name, when they meditate about their life, and maybe they do some research and they ask some people for their advice, okay, and they pick their name, then that name also has that same level of divine inspiration. Yeah, somebody? Okay, so.
Yeah, Rabbi, can I jump in now, please?
Levi, yes.
Yes, so what's in a name? So the name my parents gave me was Leland, Leland.
Okay, Leland, yeah. Okay, I got it. What does Leland mean?
If you look in a dictionary of first names, it says it's a French surname. Okay. Now, it came time, 8 days later, I got circumcised, and they had to give me a Hebrew name. So, okay, Leland starts with an L. So let's find a Hebrew name that starts with an L too. And the list is very short. Correct?
But Levi, how old are you? If I can ask. Can I ask?
67 in February.
Okay, I'm 68, okay? In my generation, my parents chose the Hebrew name first.
Yes.
And then an English name to go with the Hebrew name.
Okay, so in my case, is there an angel involved? Leland starts with an L. We got to find something in Hebrew that starts with an L. It sounds pretty good. They've done a big choice, so it's Levi. So is there an angel involved in this at all?
Absolutely. What is even the question, Levi? You think that God has to work according to the way that we understand reality, that they have to start with the Hebrew name and then come to the English name? No. You were given the name Leland, so your parents would choose the name Levi. Who was Levi? After the sin of the golden calf, all the Jewish people were confused. Some people thought that maybe the calf is, in fact, the new leader. Some people thought this is ridiculous. Nobody knew what to do. Who stood up when Moses came down and said, "Mi la Hashem Eli"? Whoever is for God, come to me. You know who stood up?
The Levites.
The Levites. That's it. And that's exactly who you are. I don't know how many people here. We have all these holy souls here, but the only person that spoke up is you. You're a Levite, Levi. Get over it. Start expressing your inner core soul that your parents blessed you with, Baruch Hashem.
Shkoyach.
Baruch Tiyeh. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a good thing you didn't tell me your Hebrew name was Leland, then I wouldn't have known what to say. Okay. One second. Anyway, there's two more things I want to say. Okay, but again, the first thing we said, and this is the important thing, a person's name in general, but their Hebrew name in particular, that is a window to the connection between their body and their soul. What does those mean? The connection of the body and soul, that's our mission in life. The soul can't exist in the world without the body. The body is the vehicle, the chariot to carry the soul. So our name is that window into that connection between our body and soul. A person has to study their name, look into it, understand it, okay? And if they don't have a Hebrew name, they have to choose a Hebrew name for themselves, and that is their window. That's number one. Number two, we want to say and just like Levi said, just like a parent is given divine inspiration, so when a person chooses their name, they also have that aspect of divine inspiration. Now, the second thing, okay, who's saying this Torah? Who shared this with us? Rabbi Ba'al Shem Tov. What was his name? Everybody say it together. Ba'al Shem Tov. What was his name, though? The master of the good name. His name was Yisrael. What is that name, Yisrael? Each of us is called Yisrael. A Jewish person is called B'nai Yisrael. We're the children of Israel. In other words, in a micro level, each person's name is the window between their body and their soul. On a macro level, the Ba'al Shem Tov came to connect a person back to their spirituality. That's why when we say the name Yisrael, we automatically connect our spiritual and our physical lives, our spiritual reality with the physical world, right? And what was I going to say? And that's what his Chassidus is. That's what all of the Torah is. People who've been coming to the class, every single bit of Torah is that window between spiritual and physical. So the way that my name, right, Shaul, I'm looking for another Hebrew name, Reba Mina or Moshe, okay, and Levi, okay, and I don't know, Daniel here we have, and I don't. Ron,
you have Chayasar also.
That's right, Chayasar Baruch Hashem. Next, I want to see everybody's Hebrew name on the thing here. Using your Hebrew name is transforming the world, and on the micro level, on the macro level, the Ba'al Shem Tov, the teachings of Chassidus is the macro window. It's the bay window. It's that projector that opens up the light between physicality and spirituality. That's what Chassidus is. Now, on the deepest level, it says the whole Torah is God's names. In other words, even though we start with the Torah reads, Bereshis, Bora, Elokim, Esa Shemayim, Vesa Aretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the first verse, but that's how we read it, right? There's a way. In some places we know, and in most places we don't. There's a way to reconnect the words of the Torah that each combination of letters is God's name. And when a person reads the Torah, they're actually reading God's name. And if the person name is a window into their soul, and if the Ba'al Shem Tov, he's connecting spiritual and physical, the teachings of Chassidus is what opens up the window for the whole world. When a person studies Torah, that's on the macro level. That's when a person is studying Torah, he's literally connecting, right, all of physicality with all of material, with all of spiritual. He's literally, it's like bringing the redemption like that. Okay, so that's three different dimensions. Okay, our name, Hebrew name, the teachings of Chassidus, Rabbi Yisrael, and when a person studies Torah and he's calling out God's name every time he reads a pasuk, it's a pasuk in Chumash, the 5 books of Moses. It's a pasuk in Navi, in the prophets, or in the writings. When he says Tilim, Psalms, anytime he's saying scripture, he's literally calling out God's name, and he's making a union of spiritual and physical. No matter how far away a person is, when he reads the words of Torah, he's connecting. And I want to say something that there are opinions that say that even Chassidut and Zohar, okay, the inner dimension of Torah, that's also like reading scripture. When a person's involved in reading scripture, he's connecting spiritual and physical together. Okay, that's the idea of a shame. That just like you can hold the body with your hand, how do you hold a soul? By calling its name. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Should we do it? Yes, we're going to do it. Come on, look inside. This last word is very, very cool. Next week, we're going to do 106 and 107. They're also very amazing. And the week after that, it's quite long. We're going to do 108. Okay, so I'm very excited about sharing all these things with everybody. Say this. So we're going to try to do 106 now. Okay. No, 105. I'm sorry. So he says like this. Look inside, please. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Any questions? What? Ron, are you sleeping? No questions? Wait, Darren, nothing to clarify? What am I doing wrong, guys?
You're doing everything right. Go ahead.
I wasn't asking for compliments. I appreciate it though.
Oh, that's where you go.
Charles, a quick question for you.
No. Who's speaking? Go.
Shaul, so do you think that is it necessary to receive a Hebrew name?
Yes.
Like,
The Seder, yes. Okay. I mean, there are some cases. Okay, if a person is a Jewish person having a Hebrew name for, it doesn't, Sylvia, it doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. Okay, but knowing your Hebrew name is, like we said, is a window to a person's soul. Even any, I don't know what the name Sylvia means. Okay, I'm sure it has a meaning. But having a Hebrew name is a whole different level of understanding what we're supposed to be doing in the world. Okay, and if you can find out what your Hebrew name was from the past, and if not, like we said, and to choose a Hebrew name. Okay, it's something that we can discuss afterwards together if you want. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. And I'm happy to discuss it with everybody. There are some situations that are perhaps different, but we'll find a solution in every case with God's help. Okay, look inside. This is very cool. It says Yesh Beis Sugei Rishei Yisrael. So the Ba'al Shem Tov is saying there's two types of evil people, evil Jewish people. Okay, he says one is behester, the echad b'farhesia. One is hidden and one is revealed. Okay, one you can't see him and one you can't see him. And what's the difference between them? Right? What's the difference between that you can't see and you can see? Okay, it bears our pasuk. He said that it's based on a verse. Wait, where's this verse? I did look it up. Let's tell him 1 second. Kuf Yudalid. No. Lamed Zayin, Lamed Hey. 1 sec. I should have had it marked. I'm sorry. Lamed. Lamed Zayin, Lamed Hey. I'm going to say it in English. The Ba'al Shem Tov says you can understand the difference between a revealed tzaddik and a revealed Russian person, evil person, and a hidden evil person from this verse. And what does the verse say? I saw a powerful wicked man, right? Well rooted, you know what? I found a different translation in the text there. It's a much more interesting translation here, but so listen to what I'm saying. I saw a powerful wicked man, well rooted like a vibrant native tree, meaning he was very, very strong, yet he vanished. Behold, he was gone. I searched for him, but he could not be found. Okay, so what's the story? Right, there was an evil person, right, and he disappeared, right, and even though I searched for him, I couldn't find him. So what does the Ba'al Shem Tov ask? The Ba'al Shem Tov says, if there's somebody evil, okay, why would you search for him? If he's gone, he's gone. And that's what he says inside. Look inside. He says, what's the difference between them? The parasha Ba'al Shem Tov, the Ba'al Shem Tov explained, Ala pasuk re'isi Rasha Aretz, I saw an evil, well-rooted, a very powerful evil person. The Yavor, and he passed, he left. The Hine, and when he couldn't be found, the Vakshehu, when I searched for him, the Lo Nimtza, and I couldn't find him. The picture, the Ba'al Shem Tov says a very simple thing. Lama v'yakshehu, what is a person? Why would you look for an evil person who left? Evil people are good riddance. What do you need them here for? Why would you look for a person? Why would you search for an evil person who already is gone? And he explained, because after him will arise a tzaddik that's a evil person, a rasha that's worse than him, right? And therefore I would look for the first one because I prefer to have the first one who is less of an evil person than the second one. What is this talking about? So in Toldos Yaakov Yosef, one of the, where are my glasses? Toldos Yaakov Yosef was one of the first, he was the first student of the Ba'al Shem Tov who actually wrote down the teachings of the Ba'al Shem Tov. And he wrote something very, very interesting. He said that, one second, I want to say it right. Right. He said that in each person, there's a revealed evil, negative inclination and a hidden negative inclination. Okay. So a revealed evil inclination would be, it's there's going to be a hurricane tomorrow night and the heater in my room is not working. And I'm sure that when I get up at 6 o'clock, it's going to be cold and I'm not going to want to get out of bed. That's a revealed evil inclination, okay? That my Yetzer Hara is going to say to me, who cares if you stay in bed for another half an hour? Just stay in bed, okay? That's a revealed rasha, a revealed evil inclination. Okay, well, but what's a hidden evil inclination? What does that mean? That's when a negative thing is hiding between the disguise of something positive. Okay, what is that? What does that mean? Okay, so I don't want to make myself sound silly, but it's interesting. I think this Shabbos it was raining here, and I go. Part of my Shabbos routine is I daven in one shul, and then I go to a cent. A cent is Baruch Hashem. Every Shabbos is filled with people. Sometimes 4 groups and 5 groups and 6 groups. There's different things, and I check on the staff. I'm like the day manager, and I usually speak at some of the meals. Okay, but it was raining, so I could think of 20 reasons why I shouldn't go, because there was another staff person was there also, and I'm going to have to cut my davening short because I had to take care of one of my grandchildren. Okay, right, and I almost convinced myself not to go. Okay, and then I said, this is ridiculous. Okay, this is my Yetzer Hara dressed up like a tzaddik. Okay, I'm so, and I pushed everything aside and I went to a sem. Right? A person has to. What does it mean to have the Ba'al Shem Tov is saying, right, that we have the revealed negative inclinations in ourselves and the hidden negative inclinations, right? And that we should look into the revealed evil inclination, because once they're gone, once we think that we have overcome all of our negative tendencies, what are we left with? Everybody has an evil inclination. We're left with the evil inclination that's hidden. And then we have to start thinking, which things are we justifying? Okay, are they really true, or are they just myself fooling myself? Like an example that he gives in Toldos Yaakov Yosef is, for instance, there's a mitzvah of not speaking negatively about another person, even if it's true. Okay, even if it's true, that's called lashon hara. Lashon hara means evil language, and evil language is forbidden, even though it's true. You're not even supposed to say true things about another person if it's negative. Okay, what's the exception? The exception is if that person could possibly do damage to somebody else. Okay, then it's a mitzvah to share the information you have about somebody else. Okay, but unfortunately, that's an example of something that everybody always thinks that some juicy tidbit that they know about somebody else, it's a mitzvah lefarsim. It's a positive thing to share with somebody else. Okay, here's an example of something negative that's dressed up in the garment of something positive. And that's what the Ba'al Shem Tov was saying. He's saying, beware of a situation where you think, wow, I've overcome all of my evil inclinations, right? Now I'm home free. That's the sign that your evil inclination has gone underground and that it's hiding itself as what? As righteousness. Then a person has to look and see where his righteousness came to an extreme. I just heard from a friend. No, he reminded me of what it says in the Gemara. It says, what does the Talmud say? It says on the sixth day of creation. It says Tov. How does it go? Tov is, Dara, help me. It says Tov is, it's good, right? And Tov ma'od, 1 second. I can't remember how it goes. I'll think of it in a minute. Okay, a person, so the Ba'al Shem Tov is saying, what does it mean there's two levels of evil in a person? That when if a person thinks that I have all of my evil under control, then he has to realize that there's a level that's hidden that I'm not seeing. And how does that part of the negative part of me hide itself? By dressing up in the clothing of a tzaddik. And that comes out in our excesses, in our extremes, in the places where we don't have patience for other people, in the places we think that we're right and everybody else is making a mistake, in the places where one situation is somebody else is suffering because of my righteousness. That's an example of a person whose Yetzer Hara is in hiding. Let me see if I have any notes. Right. Yeah, I was going to tell a few secrets about myself and I decided against it. Okay, that's it. We're finished. It's only 5 out of 10. We're not so bad. Okay. The first thing we learned about was right? That when a person is involved in the world, then he has to push back and get involved in holiness. And when he gets involved in holiness, he elevates all of the physical that he was doing before. He has to see life in the woman that you love. Okay, see life. You have to see in all the physical things spiritual power. That was the first thing. The second thing was the idea of Elu Shemesh B'nai Yisrael Sheyotzu Mitzrayim. These are the names of the Jewish people that they came to Egypt. Okay, what's a name? A name, just like you can hold the body with your hand, you can hold the soul with a name. The name is a window to the connection between the body and soul, and a priest has to explore that idea. That was on the higher level. That's the Ba'al Shem Tov. His name was Yisrael, connecting spiritual and physical on a higher level. That's when we study Torah. We're actually reading God's name. We're calling out God's name. We're bringing the whole world to its ultimate culmination of spiritual clarity. The third thing was there are two types of evil people in the world, and when the revealed one disappears, wary of the one that's hidden. Okay, but when a person thinks that they're coming close to completion, we're fooling ourselves. A person always has an evil inclination. Sometimes it's revealed, and sometimes it's hidden. And how does it hide itself? By dressing up like a tzaddik, by dressing up like a righteous person, by justifying something that we do, thinking this is the biggest mitzvah that I can do, when really it's the biggest of there. That's what it says in the psalmist says, King David says, it says, Evan Ma'aso Abaynim Haisel Rosh Pina, the rock that was despised. I've said this before. The rock that was despised by the builders became the cornerstone. What does that mean? The story is that they had to build the altar in the temple from rocks. They couldn't cut the rocks. They had to use each rock. They had to fit it in like a puzzle to make the altar. Okay, and there was a rock that was a weird shape, and they couldn't fit it here, couldn't fit it there. So they threw it to the side. They said, Maso Abayim. They said, this is a worthless stone. And then when they got to the end, there was a space that was exactly the space of that rock. This that they despised, that became the cornerstone. Sometimes we think that the least important thing is nothing, and it's really the pivot point for changing our lives. Okay, if a person thinks that they are working, they're speeding ahead on this spiritual path, and they've gotten all of their negative aspects under control, that's when we have to start looking for the negative aspects dressed up like a tzaddik. Okay, that's it for today. Any questions? Valeria, so good to see you.
Well, many questions could be asked because this is one of the most important steps in your growing. When you think you are done, you just are beginning to do.
Right?
Yeah,
thank you.
Because you feel that are better and better and better, but your dark side is hiding inside you. So you have to chase your Yetzer Hara and try to understand when you feel too much, to be fed up, to be angry, why you are angry, why you react to something. It's difficult, but it can be done.
Not only that it's difficult and can be done, it's when we start working on those more subtle levels, that's when the whole world begins to open up. Absolutely. I think, we can, I want to say that I myself had a lot of discoveries in the last 2 weeks, personal things. And there's no end. I think a person, growth doesn't, it's like we started the first story we said, for the people who want to learn, they can always learn. The people who want to stop learning, they can stop learning, right? As long as you want to keep growing, Hashem will make it possible to keep growing. Thank you very much, Valeria. It's so good to see your face. All right, any other questions? Ron, yeah, if you're not going to say something, I'm not sure you were here. It's just your picture.
Okay, well, I'll ask a question, but I think it's a much bigger question, and maybe it'll be something to take up at another class. When you talked earlier about names, and then and the woman being sort of like a complement to a man, it seems to me that in Judaism, there's this whole patriarchal angle to it, and if you think about the medical profession, there's a role for women, but we don't seem to have a role for women in the theological side of Judaism. And it seems to me that we're doing something that is leaving out 50% of the population and relegating them to, well, no, you just take care of the house and children, and that's a mitzvah, and it's more important than what men are doing in studying Torah.
I hear, and I don't know what it's like in Toronto. Here in Israel, the women have every day, the position of women is growing.
True.
It's maybe it's not exactly to how some people would like to see it. I would say, my wife and I, we have whatever you're going to do, you can't take away that Chaya Bracha was the person who gave birth to our 11 children. No matter how close I feel, and I don't, whether I did a fantastic job as a father or less than a fantastic job, there's still a level of intimacy that a woman has with her children, okay, that a father will never attain, okay? And because of that, she wants to nurture them, right? My wife is the one that buys my children, even when they're married and they have their own clothing, but she buys them clothing, and she buys her grandchildren clothing. She's involved, when a baby's born, she says, wow, how's the mother? How much did the baby weigh? It's just a whole different level of involvement. I am sure we agree that you don't want to negate that. We don't want to take away that special consciousness that a woman has about the children, about the home, that a man can never reach. Okay. On the other hand, giving women more influence, having women take more positions of leadership in the community, having women teaching more Torah. That are things that are happening, and it has to happen more. We say that the time before Mashiach is the time when the man was above the woman. That's Yaakov and his two wives, Rachel and Leah. The time of transition from Mashiach, from before Mashiach to after Mashiach, that's the time of Yitzchak and Rivka. They were equal. Yitzchak wanted Esav to get the blessings, and Rivka wanted Jacob to get the blessings. They were pulling strings. They were both in the same position. After Mashiach comes, who is it going to be? Sarah and Abraham. And what does God say about Sarah? God says to Abraham, listen to what your wife says. Follow what your wife says. After Mashiach comes, the women's position are going to be revealed. If you look at it, if I may say, if you look at that transition, it's happening. It's happening. That's the whole women's liberation movement. That's women in professions. It's happening there. And in the Jewish community, that's the source of it, is we're moving towards the redemption. And the source of it is in Torah. Okay. And a lot of it's just fake. But the real stuff is happening, I think, in the Jewish community. Okay. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Ron, you always ask great questions. God bless you. Anybody else? Come on, I lose points when we go after 10 o'clock. Lisa Rooney, a new participant. Anything to share? Lisetta, hi. Dr. Herman made it. Baruch Hashem. Oh, and Renata's back. Oh, long time no see, Renata. How are you? Okay, that's it. No questions. Thank you, everybody, very much for coming. Next week is a blowout shear. I'm looking forward to everybody coming. Baruch Hashem. In the meantime, right, this is everybody has to take the responsibility and share a little bit of light further. Carry it further. Change another person's life. Give them the smile of Torah. Say words of Torah, and you're kissing God. You're sharing that intimacy with other people, please God. Okay? Right? God bless everybody.
God bless.
Amen.
They say the Rebbe used to bawl out the men when it comes to work. You gotta work, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Work, work, work. But when it came to the woman, he used to compliment them on any work, any little bit of work that they did. They were tzaddikim. He used to really give them parties on this. Oh, you're wonderful for doing this. The man, there's a different story. The woman, beautiful.
Amen.
Two different attitudes.
I thought you were going to say something else. I said it before, I'm saying it again. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was never seen sitting back in his chair. How did he sit in his chair? On the edge, leaning forward, ready to push into to transform the world, okay? That's our job. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
And thank you for the name, because I'm wondering where I get my attitude towards Israel and towards the Jews. And I look at my name and it's all there. This is where it is.
Go for it.
Thank you very much for pointing that out to me. I appreciate it.
God bless everybody. I'll see everybody. Come next week. Bring a friend. Okay. You're doing me a favor, each of you. Thank you very much for coming to join me. Baruch Hashem.
Thank you.
Share it forward. Valerio.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Shavuot Tov.
Shavuot Tov, Dara. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.